"This bag is worth more than you," yelled the alien heiress moments before he saved her life. Charlie Blackwood adjusted his collar in the reflection of his ship's polished hull. The sleek black pilot's uniform fit him perfectly, highlighting his athletic build while maintaining professional decorum. He ran a hand through his short, dark hair and checked his stubble, just the right amount of rugged charm without looking unkempt. "Final approach to Crystalline Heights," the ship's eye announced. "ETA 3 minutes." Now, the exclusive venue sparkled like a diamond mountain against New Epsilon's neon-drenched skyline. Charlie had transported plenty of wealthy clients there before, but tonight's passenger was special. Lady Emeralda Voss, heiress to the Voss quantum computing empire. His ship, the Stellar Grace, glided smoothly into the VIP landing pad. Right on time. The entry ramp extended with a soft hiss as Charlie positioned himself at the bottom, ready to greet his distinguished guest. She emerged from her private hover limo like liquid starlight. Her jade-green hair cascaded in perfect waves, complementing her luminescent emerald skin. The black designer dress she wore probably cost more than most people made in a year, with strategic cuts that left little to the imagination while somehow maintaining an air of aristocratic sophistication. "Lady Voss," Charlie bowed slightly. "Welcome aboard the Stellar Grace." Her amber eyes flickered over him with casual disdain. "You'll do, I suppose. Let's not dawdle. I have a gala to attend." Charlie maintained his professional smile as he guided her aboard. The flight to Crystalline Heights was mercifully short, filled only with the sound of Lady Voss tapping away at her quantum-linked personal device. As they landed, Charlie moved to assist her descent down the ramp. His arm accidentally brushed against her exotic leather handbag. Her reaction was instant and volcanic. "Don't touch that, you primitive ape!" she snapped, clutching the bag to her chest. "This Novarian Drakehide clutch is worth more than you and your entire ship combined." Charlie felt his jaw clench but kept his voice steady. "My sincerest apologies, my lady. Please allow me to escort you to the entrance." They were halfway across the landing pad when the first shots rang out. 3 hoverbikes screamed out of the darkness, their riders firing indiscriminately into the crowd of arriving guests. Charlie didn't hesitate. He grabbed Lady Voss and pulled her behind a decorative pillar just as plasma bolts scorched the ground where they'd been standing. Her eyes were wide with shock as she pressed against him. "Still think I'm worthless?" he asked with a slight smirk. She looked up at him, a new light in those amber eyes. "This time," she purred, "I'm glad you touched me." The aftermath of the attack transformed the elegant landing pad into organized chaos. Security forces swarmed the area while frightened guests huddled in small groups, their expensive attire now dusty and disheveled. Charlie kept Lady Voss safely behind the pillar, his body still partially shielding hers. "Those weren't common thugs," he muttered, scanning the perimeter. "Military-grade weapons, coordinated approach. This was professional." Lady Voss's fingers dug into his arm. "The merger announcement," she whispered, her earlier haughtiness replaced by genuine concern. "Father was supposed to reveal our partnership with the Australian consortium tonight. If that deal falls through..." "Your competitors wouldn't want that happening," Charlie finished. He felt her pressed against him, her exotic perfume clouding his senses. The adrenaline from the firefight hadn't quite worn off, making him acutely aware of every point where their bodies touched. "I need to get inside," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "The announcement is less important than your life." Charlie's tone left no room for argument. "Those shooters could still be out there. Let me get you somewhere safe." She looked up at him, amber eyes searching his face. The arrogant mask had cracked, revealing something vulnerable underneath. "Why do you care? After how I treated you?" "Because it's the right thing to do," he replied simply. "And because you're not half as awful as you pretend to be." A small smile played at her lips. "Perhaps I misjudged you, Charlie Blackwood." She said his name like she was tasting it. "Very well. I place myself in your capable hands." The way she said it sent a shiver down his spine. "I'll contact my security connections. Get us somewhere off the grid until we figure out who's behind this." "Us?" She raised an elegant eyebrow. "You're hiring me as your personal pilot and bodyguard. Unless you'd prefer to trust your safety to someone else." Lady Voss's laugh was musical. "How presumptuous. I like that." She pressed something into his palm. A crystalline credit chip. "Your retainer. Don't make me regret this." Charlie pocketed the chip without looking at it. This way, my ship has a secure cabin we can use until I make arrangements. They made their way back to the Stellar Grace, Charlie constantly vigilant for any signs of pursuit. Once aboard, Lady Voss settled onto a plush couch in the private cabin while Charlie engaged the ship's security protocols. You handle yourself well under pressure, she observed, watching him work. Military training? Special Forces, he confirmed. 8 years before going private. Fascinating. She crossed her legs, the dress's slits revealing an expanse of emerald skin. I wouldn't have expected a decorated warrior to end up as a glorified chauffeur. The pay's better, he said dryly, and the company's more interesting. Her amber eyes sparkled. Is that so? And here I thought I was just another spoiled heiress with an overpriced handbag. You're many things, Lady Voss, but you're not just anything. The tension between them crackled like static electricity. She stood, moving closer, her movements liquid grace. Call me Emeralda. Charlie forced himself to focus on the security console. That wouldn't be professional. No, she agreed, her breath warm against his ear. It wouldn't. Before Charlie could respond, his security alerts pinged. We've got company, 3 unmarked vessels entering the area. Emeralda's playful demeanor vanished. The same ones? Likely. Hold on. Charlie slid into the pilot's seat, his hands dancing across the controls. The Stellar Grace hummed to life. What are you doing? Emeralda demanded, gripping the back of his chair. Getting us out of here. Your father's announcement? Was it public knowledge? She shook her head. Only the board and key investors knew. The Australian representatives are arriving tomorrow to finalize everything. Then you have a leak, Charlie said grimly. Someone who stands to lose from this merger wants to make sure it never happens. The ship lifted off smoothly, but their pursuers were already moving to intercept. Charlie's military training kicked in as he wove through New Epsilon's towering skyscrapers, using the urban canyon to break pursuit locks. They're still following, Emeralda noted, surprisingly calm. Not for long. Charlie grinned, diving the ship into a maintenance tunnel. Warning lights flashed as they threaded through service drones and construction equipment. Emeralda gasped as they emerged on the other side, their pursuers left behind in the maze of tunnels. That was exhilarating. Glad you enjoyed it. Charlie set course for a secure location. I know a place where we can lay low, figure out our next move. She placed a hand on his shoulder, the touch sending electricity through him. I suppose I should thank you properly for saving my life. Twice now. Charlie caught her reflection in the view screen. The haughty aristocrat was gone, replaced by something far more dangerous. A woman who knew exactly what she wanted. Your safety is thanks enough, he managed. How noble. Her fingers traced patterns on his shoulder. But I've never been particularly noble. Another thing we have in common, I suspect. The air grew thick with unspoken possibilities. Charlie knew he was walking a dangerous line. She was his client, an alien heiress far above his station. But the way she looked at him, touched him. We should focus on keeping you alive, he said, his voice rougher than intended. Oh, I feel very much alive right now. She leaned closer, her scent intoxicating. Perhaps that's why they want me dead. I'm finally starting to live. The Crystal Nebula Resort floated serenely among the iridescent clouds of New Epsilon's upper atmosphere, its transparent domes and spiraling architecture catching the light of twin suns. Charlie stood at the panoramic window of their luxury suite, scanning for potential threats while trying not to focus on Emeralda's reflection in the glass as she prepared for the meeting. The Australians arrive in 2 hours, she said, adjusting her new dress, a shimmering creation that seemed to capture starlight. Father insists we proceed as planned. The merger is too important. And your would-be assassins know exactly where to find you, Charlie pointed out, turning to face her. He'd traded his pilot's uniform for a tailored security officer's attire, though the way Emeralda's gaze lingered suggested she approved of the change. That's why I have you. She approached, straightening his collar with deliberate slowness. My fearless human protector. The casual intimacy of her touch sent warmth coursing through him. Is that all I am? Her amber eyes met his, filled with mischief and something deeper. You tell me, Charlie. You're the one maintaining professional distance. 'Cause I'm trying to keep you alive. And doing an admirable job. Her fingers traced down his chest. But I'm beginning to think there are worse things than death. Like regret. Before Charlie could respond, his security feeds chimed. The Australian delegation is arriving early. We should head down. Esmeralda stepped back with a knowing smile. Saved by the bell, but this conversation isn't over. The resort's grand ballroom was a marvel of engineering, its transparent floor offering dizzying views of the clouds below. Wealthy guests from across the galaxy mingled, their exotic forms and clothing creating a kaleidoscope of color and movement. Charlie positioned himself near Esmeralda as she greeted the Australian representatives. Tall, crystalline beings whose bodies refracted light like living prisms. Their leader, First Facet Prism, inclined his geometric head respectfully. "Lady Voss, your reputation precedes you," his voice chimed like wind through crystal. "Though I must admit, the attempts on your life concern us. A minor inconvenience," Esmeralda waved dismissively, "one that my security team has well in hand." Prism's faceted eyes turned to Charlie. "Ah yes, the human, a fascinating choice. Your species continues to surprise us with their adaptability." "We're full of surprises," Charlie replied evenly, noting movement in his peripheral vision. "Speaking of which, down!" He tackled Esmeralda as plasma bolts sizzled through the space where she'd been standing. Screams erupted as masked figures rappelled through the supposedly impenetrable dome. "Stay with the delegation," Charlie ordered, drawing his weapon. He fired with practiced precision, dropping 2 attackers before they could reach the ground. Esmeralda, instead of cowering, produced a sleek pistol from her evening clutch. "I told you this bag was valuable," she quipped, picking off an assailant with surprising accuracy. The Australians formed a defensive crystal formation, their bodies refracting enemy fire harmlessly away. Working together, they managed to neutralize the immediate threat. But Charlie knew there would be more. "Impressive," First Facet Prism observed as a security team secured the area. "Both the attack and the defense. Perhaps this partnership has more potential than we realized." "How so?" Esmeralda asked, still pressed against Charlie's side. "Your father's quantum computing technology, combined with our crystalline architecture, could revolutionize the industry. But what truly interests us is this." He gestured to Charlie and Esmeralda. "The human capacity for protection, for sacrifice, merged with your own species' sophistication. It's evolutionarily fascinating." Charlie felt Esmeralda's pulse quicken where their bodies touched. "We should get you somewhere secure," he murmured. "My quarters," she agreed. "First Facet, shall we continue our discussion over dinner? Private dining room, 2 hours." The crystalline being chimed in agreement. As they rode the gravity lift to the upper levels, Esmeralda's composure finally cracked. "That was intense," she breathed, hands trembling slightly. I've had combat training, but..." Charlie pulled her close, professional boundaries forgotten. "You were amazing." She looked up at him, emotion raw in her amber eyes. "I felt alive, like I could do anything, be anything. Is that how humans always feel?" "Not always," he smiled, "but often enough to make life interesting." They reached her suite, the door sealing behind them with a reassuring hiss. Esmeralda didn't step away. "I don't want to be alone tonight," she whispered. Charlie knew he should resist, maintain boundaries, focus on keeping her safe, but the way she looked at him, the way she felt in his arms. "I'm not going anywhere," he promised. Her kiss tasted like stardust, an impossibility, breaking down the last barriers between them. What followed was a revelation of trust and passion, transcending species and status, proving that some forces in the universe were truly universal. Later, as they lay tangled in sheets that probably cost more than his ship, Esmeralda traced patterns on his chest. "Still think you're worth less than my bag?" Charlie laughed, pulling her closer. "I think we're both priceless." "The Australians were right," she mused. "About humans being fascinating. You live so fully, love so completely. My people could learn from that. And we could learn from your elegance," he kissed her forehead, "though maybe not your taste in handbags." She swatted him playfully, then grew serious. "We still have to find out who's behind the attacks. The merger, ... Can wait until morning?" Charlie finished. "Right now, you're safe. That's all that matters." Dawn painted New Epsilon's clouds in shades of amber and rose, reminiscent of Esmeralda's eyes as she dozed in Charlie's arms. The peaceful moment shattered when his security feeds chirped an urgent alert. "What is it?" Esmeralda murmured, instantly alert. Charlie checked the display and felt his stomach drop. Your father's personal flagship just entered orbit. What? She bolted upright, jade hair cascading around her shoulders. He's supposed to be negotiating mining rights in the Outer Rim. Apparently, assassination attempts on his only heir take priority. Charlie was already moving, gathering his scattered clothes. Lord Augustus Voss, legendary businessman and overprotective father, about to meet his daughter's human bodyguard. This should be interesting. Emeralda's laugh held a nervous edge. Darling, you have no idea. The last suitor who didn't meet his standards was quietly transferred to our mining colony on Frost 9. Good thing I'm not a suitor, Charlie winked, fastening his security uniform. Just your incredibly professional bodyguard who happens to be madly in love with you. She caught him by the collar, pulling him down for a searing kiss. Keep that attitude. You'll need it. Lord Augustus Voss's arrival transformed the Crystal Nebula Resort into a hive of activity. Additional security teams swept every corner, while staff scrambled to prepare the presidential suite. Charlie stood at attention beside Emeralda as the gravity lift doors opened, revealing a tall, imposing figure with the same emerald skin as his daughter, but steel gray hair and eyes like frozen gold. Father, Emeralda stepped forward, every inch the proper heiress. This is unexpected. 3 assassination attempts in 2 days? Augustus's voice rumbled like distant thunder. Did you expect me to stay away? His gaze locked onto Charlie. And this is your protection? Charlie Blackwood. Charlie extended his hand. Former Earth Special Forces, now private security contractor. Augustus ignored the offered hand. Human military. How quaint. Tell me, Mr. Blackwood, how does a species barely out of their solar system produce warriors capable of protecting my daughter? The same way we survived first contact with 17 hostile alien races? Charlie replied evenly. Adaptability, determination, and a genuine desire to protect what matters. Something flickered in Augustus's cold eyes. Surprise, perhaps even respect. Pretty words, but actions interest me more than rhetoric. Walk with me, both of you. We have much to discuss. They followed Augustus through the resort's private gardens, where exotic floating flowers danced in artificial breezes. Security drones hummed discreetly overhead. The merger with the Australians, Augustus began, is more than just business. Their crystalline technology, combined with our quantum computing, could revolutionize faster-than-light travel, make it accessible to developing species. He paused, fixing Charlie with that penetrating stare. Species like humans. And someone doesn't want that happening, Charlie concluded. Indeed, our competitors prefer the current system, where they can exploit less advanced races for cheap labor and resources. Augustus's lip curled in disgust. They lack vision. Father, Emeralda interjected, about Charlie and me. Yes, about that. Augustus turned, his expression unreadable. Do you know why I named my daughter Emeralda? Charlie blinked at the apparent non sequitur. Sir? Because emeralds, despite their beauty, are actually quite resilient. They can withstand pressure that would shatter lesser gems. He focused on his daughter. You've always had excellent judgment in business matters, my dear. I trust your judgment in personal matters as well. Emeralda's eyes widened. You mean, the security footage from last night's attack was quite illuminating. Your human fought with remarkable skill. More importantly, he put your safety above all else. Augustus actually smiled. And you, my precious gem, fought beside him instead of cowering. Together, you were formidable. Charlie felt Emeralda's hand slip into his. Then you approve. The board will have opinions about an inter-species union, of course, particularly one involving a race as young as humanity. Augustus shrugged. But they also had opinions about partnering with the Australians. Progress requires bold moves. A distant explosion interrupted the moment. Charlie tackled both Voss family members as debris rained from above. Through the smoke, he spotted armed figures rappelling down from a stealth ship. More assassins! Emeralda drew her pistol. No! Augustus growled, producing an impressive weapon of his own. These are Shadow Corp mercenaries, our main competitor. Charlie activated his tactical displays. 12 hostiles, heavy weapons, probably more on the way. We need to move. The panic room, Augustus decided. This way. They fought their way through the gardens, working with surprising coordination. Augustus's combat skills proved he hadn't always been a businessman, while Emeralda's accuracy had only improved since the previous day. Charlie provided covering fire as they reached the panic room entrance. "Go! I'll hold them off!" "Like hell!" Emeralda grabbed his arm. "We fight together now, remember?" Augustus sealed the blast doors behind them just as another explosion rocked the resort. Inside the secure room, he regarded the couple with newfound appreciation. "Perhaps humanity has more to offer than we realize," he mused. "Your species' warrior spirit, combined with our technology and the Australians' innovations." He smiled broadly. "My grandchildren will be extraordinary." Emeralda blushed a deeper shade of emerald. "Father, what? I'm not getting any younger, and interspecies fertility treatments have come a long way." He checked his quantum communicator. "Our security forces are engaging the mercenaries. We should be clear soon." Charlie pulled Emeralda close, still running hot from the combat. "Your father's right about one thing. We are pretty extraordinary together." She kissed him soundly, ignoring Augustus's theatrical cough. "Just wait until the honeymoon, my brave human warrior." The formal engagement announcement was scheduled for the grand ballroom of the Voss family's ancestral estate on New Epsilon. Charlie adjusted his ceremonial Earth military dress uniform, a concession to protocol that Emeralda found surprisingly appealing. "Stop fidgeting," she purred, sliding her arms around him from behind. "You look devastating." "Easy for you to say." He turned to face her, breath catching at her appearance. She wore a gown that seemed woven from liquid starlight, her jade hair adorned with crystalline flowers, a gift from the Australian delegation. "You were born for this. And you were born to keep me humble?" she teased, pressing closer. "Remember when I thought my handbag was worth more than you?" "Technically, it probably still is." "Nothing is worth more than you," she whispered, kissing him deeply. A discreet cough interrupted them. Augustus stood in the doorway, accompanied by Dr. Lyla, the family's chief medical officer. The doctor's expression was carefully neutral, but her eyes sparkled with barely contained excitement. "The latest test results are in," Dr. Lyla announced. "The experimental fertility treatments were successful. Lady Emeralda is expecting." Charlie felt the world tilt. You're pregnant," Emeralda finished, her hand instinctively moving to her stomach. "With twins." Augustus beamed with grandfatherly pride. "The first human Voss hybrids in history. The board can't possibly object to the engagement now." "The timing is perfect," Dr. Lyla added. "The announcement will overshadow Shadow Corp's latest attempts to discredit the merger." Charlie's security implant buzzed. "Speaking of which, we have a situation. Someone just tried to access restricted merger documents using Executive Director Thane's credentials." "Impossible," Augustus frowned. "Thane's been with the company longer than Emeralda's been alive." "Which makes him the perfect mole," Emeralda reasoned. "He has access to everything." "And he's scheduled to attend the announcement," Charlie added, "along with half the corporate elite in the sector." Augustus's expression hardened. "Then we'll make it a night to remember. Doctor, not a word about the pregnancy. That's our ace in the hole." The ballroom filled with the galaxy's most powerful beings, corporate titans, political leaders, and social elites from 100 worlds. Charlie stood beside Emeralda on the grand staircase, scanning the crowd while maintaining a pleasant expression. "Thane's at your 3 o'clock, he murmured, talking to the Shadow Corp representative. "I see them," Emeralda replied through her smile. "Father's security teams are in position." Augustus took the central platform, his voice carrying across the vast space. "Distinguished guests, we gather tonight for 2 historic announcements. First, the merger between Voss Quantum Computing and the Australian Consortium." A subtle movement caught Charlie's eye. Thane was reaching into his jacket. "Down!" Charlie shouted, drawing his concealed weapon as chaos erupted. Thane and several other guests produced weapons, but this time they were ready. Emeralda's personal security drones activated, creating energy barriers around innocent guests. Augustus's teams moved with precision, isolating the threats. Charlie kept Emeralda behind him as they advanced on Thane. "It's over," Charlie declared. "Drop it." Thane sneered. "You don't understand what's at stake. This merger will destroy the natural order. Inferior species like humans shouldn't have access to advanced technology." "Inferior?" Emeralda stepped forward, her voice ringing with authority. My human partner just outmaneuvered your entire conspiracy, and soon our children will represent the next step in galactic evolution. The room fell silent, Thane's expression contorted with disgust. Abominations? You would pollute the Voss bloodline with human DNA? Actually, Dr. Libra emerged from the crowd, preliminary scans show the hybrid DNA is remarkably stable. The combination of human adaptability and Voss genetic sophistication has produced something entirely new. Something extraordinary. First Facet Prism stepped forward, his crystalline form refracting the ballroom's lights. Just as this merger represents the next evolution in faster-than-light travel, change comes, Director Thane. You can either embrace it or be left behind. Security teams surrounded the conspirators. Augustus retook the platform. As I was saying, 2 announcements, the merger, which will proceed as planned, and the engagement of my daughter, Lady Emeralda Voss, to Charlie Blackwood of Earth. Their union, like our corporate partnership, represents the bright future we envision. The ballroom erupted in applause. Charlie pulled Emeralda close, no longer caring about protocol. So much for keeping the pregnancy quiet. Please, she laughed. Father planned this perfectly. Nothing unites shareholders like a scandal that makes them money. By tomorrow, our stock will soar, and the merger will be unstoppable. You Voss women are terrifyingly clever. Just wait until you meet your daughters, she whispered. The genetic scans show they'll have my brains and your warrior spirit. Charlie kissed her, ignoring the flashing cameras. As long as they don't inherit your taste in overpriced handbags. About that, she grinned mischievously. I had something made for you. She signaled, and a servant brought forward a sleek black case, a little engagement gift. Inside was a tactical equipment bag made from the same exotic leather as her infamous handbag. The craftsmanship was exquisite, with hidden compartments for weapons and tech. Now we match, she said softly, though you're still worth more than both bags combined. I love you, he murmured against her lips, even if you are a spoiled alien princess. And I love you, my priceless human warrior. The celebration continued late into the night, a perfect blend of victory party and engagement ball. As they danced beneath floating crystal lights, Charlie marveled at how much had changed since that first meeting. From a simple pilot to future husband of the galaxy's most eligible heiress, father to history-making twins, and architect of a new era in human-alien relations. All because he dared to touch an overpriced handbag. The great cathedral of infinite stars hovered in New Epsilon's upper atmosphere, its crystalline spires reaching toward the cosmos. Built through a collaboration between human architects and Australian crystal shapers, it represented everything Charlie and Emeralda's union stood for. The seamless blend of multiple cultures, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Having second thoughts? Charlie teased, finding Emeralda in her preparation chamber. She stood before a mirror that showed her from every angle, her wedding gown a masterpiece that seemed to capture the very essence of starlight. About marrying you? Never. She turned, her slight baby bump barely visible beneath the flowing fabric. About letting your mother plan half the ceremony? Perhaps. Charlie laughed, remembering his mother's excitement at incorporating Earth traditions into the Voss marriage rituals. She means well, though I'm still not sure how she convinced your father to wear a traditional Earth tuxedo. Father would wear a spacesuit made of living slime if it meant this wedding went perfectly. Emeralda moved closer, her amber eyes sparkling with mischief. You're not supposed to see me before the ceremony, you know. Earth tradition, he pulled her into his arms. But we're making our own traditions now. Their kiss was interrupted by a discreet cough. Dr. Libra stood in the doorway, holding her medical scanner. Final checkup before the ceremony, my lady. The twins are quite active today. They know something important is happening. Emeralda placed Charlie's hand on her belly. They're already showing signs of both species' best traits. The doctor's scans confirmed it. The twins were developing perfectly. Their hybrid DNA creating something entirely new, yet wonderfully stable. They'll be as adaptable as humans and as sophisticated as the Voss. Truly remarkable. Security alerts chimed on Charlie's implant. The first guests are arriving. I should check the perimeter. Always my protector, Emeralda kissed him again, even on our wedding day. Especially today. Half the galaxy's elite will be here. The cathedral filled with an extraordinary mix of species. Humans in formal military dress and business attire, Voss aristocrats in their flowing robes, crystalline Australians who had shaped their bodies into living artwork for the occasion. Augustus Voss greeted them all with diplomatic grace, though his pride was evident to anyone who looked closely. "Quite a turnout," Charlie's father, Admiral James Blackwood, observed. The decorated Earth Fleet commander cut an impressive figure in his dress uniform. "Never thought I'd see the day when humans would be considered equals among the advanced species. Times change, Dad. That's what today is all about." The ceremony itself was a beautiful blend of traditions. Charlie and Emeralda exchanged vows in multiple languages. Their words carried through the cathedral's perfect acoustics. The Australians created a crystalline archway that refracted light in patterns matching their heartbeats. When Charlie lifted Emeralda's veil, a concession to Earth custom, the gathered crowd gasped at her radiant beauty. "I once told you a handbag was worth more than you," she whispered as they faced each other. "I've never been more wonderfully wrong." Their kiss sealed more than just their marriage. It represented the future of human-alien relations, the promise of a galaxy where species work together instead of competing. The applause was deafening. The celebration that followed was equally magnificent. Dishes from 100 worlds were served as entertainment from various cultures, kept the guests enthralled. Charlie and Emeralda's first dance combined the grace of Voss' formal movement with the passion of human waltz. "Your mother's crying," Emeralda noted as they swayed together. "So is your father. He's just better at hiding it." They both laughed, drawing closer. The slight swell of her pregnancy pressed between them, a constant reminder of their shared future. "Any regrets?" Charlie asked softly. "About choosing a simple human pilot over all your wealthy suitors?" "Only that I didn't realize your worth sooner." Her amber eyes held infinite tenderness. "You've given me everything I never knew I wanted. Love, adventure, family, a purpose beyond just being the Voss heiress." "You've given me just as much," he countered, "though I still can't believe you spent more on that handbag than my first ship cost." "Speaking of ships," Augustus interrupted, approaching with a mysterious smile, "your wedding gift is waiting in the hangar." They followed him to find a stunning vessel that combined human military efficiency with Voss luxury and Australian crystal technology. Its name was emblazoned in elegant script, "Worth more." "The first of its kind," Augustus explained proudly, "a prototype incorporating our merged technologies, fast enough for combat, comfortable enough for a family, and sophisticated enough for diplomatic missions." Emeralda's eyes filled with happy tears. "It's perfect, Father. Consider it a down payment on my grandchildren's future," he winked. "The galaxy is changing, and they'll need the best of all worlds to navigate it." As the celebration continued above, Charlie and Emeralda explored their new ship, finding thoughtful touches from all three cultures throughout its design. "Remember when we first met?" Emeralda asked, settling into the pilot seat. "I was such a spoiled princess." "You still are," Charlie teased, pulling her into his lap. "But now you're my spoiled princess?" Their passionate kiss was interrupted by a gentle kick from within Emeralda's belly. They both laughed, hands intertwining over the spot. "They're going to be handful," Charlie predicted. "With your courage and my class, they'll be unstoppable." The cathedral's crystalline spires caught the light of New Epsilon's setting suns, creating a spectacular display that drew their guests' attention. But Charlie and Emeralda remained in their ship, wrapped in each other's arms, marveling at how a chance encounter and an overpriced handbag had led to something priceless. 6 months after the wedding, aboard the Worthmore, Charlie watched in fascination as Dr. Lyla conducted another scan of the twins. The holographic display showed two perfectly formed boys, their features a striking blend of human and Voss characteristics. "Remarkable," the doctor murmured. "Their hybrid physiology is developing capabilities we never anticipated. Look here." She highlighted their neural patterns. "They're showing signs of both human neuroplasticity and Voss cognitive architecture." Emeralda, radiant in her advanced pregnancy, squeezed Charlie's hand. "What does that mean exactly?" "Your sons will likely possess unprecedented adaptive capabilities," Dr. Lyla explained. "The human ability to learn and adapt rapidly combined with the Voss capacity for complex pattern recognition and advanced reasoning. They might be able to master skills and process information in ways neither species can individually." Charlie studied the display. But they're healthy, normal, perfectly so, just exceptional. Their cellular structure shows enhanced resilience, another human trait, while maintaining the sophisticated biochemistry of the Voss. Even their muscle density suggests they'll be stronger than either species typically is. Of course they're exceptional, Augustus declared, entering the medical bay. They're my grandsons. He placed a protective hand on Esmeralda's shoulder. Have you chosen names yet? Nexus and Phoenix, Esmeralda answered, blending Voss naming traditions with human mythology. Perfect, Augustus approved. Names worthy of their heritage. The ship's AI interrupted with an urgent alert. Unusual energy readings detected in Cargo Bay 3. Charlie was instantly alert. Source? The twins, sir. They appear to be affecting the ship's crystalline components. They rushed to the cargo bay, where the Australian-designed storage units were resonating with a subtle harmonic frequency. Dr. Libra's scanner whirred. Fascinating! The babies are naturally attuned to the crystalline technology. Their hybrid nervous systems are somehow interfacing with it. Like the Australians do, Charlie asked. Similar but more intuitive. Where Australians must consciously shape and control crystal structures, your sons appear to do it instinctively. Esmeralda laughed as the crystal containers pulsed in sync with her movements. They're already playing with technology. Definitely your children, darling. Charlie pulled her close, marveling at how her pregnancy had only enhanced her beauty. The slight glow of her emerald skin had intensified, and her amber eyes sparkled with maternal pride. Remember when the most complicated thing between us was an expensive handbag? He teased. Now look at us, revolutionizing galactic genetics, while our unborn sons rewrite the rules of alien technology. Their playful banter was interrupted by another alert. First Facet Prism was requesting an emergency conference. The Australian leader's crystalline form shimmered on the holographic display. We've been monitoring the development of your children with great interest. Their natural affinity for our technology is unprecedented. Is that a problem? Charlie asked protectively. Quite the opposite. It proves what we theorized, that human adaptability combined with advanced species traits could produce something revolutionary. Your sons may be the key to making our merged technologies accessible to developing races. Augustus stroked his chin thoughtfully. The implications for the merger are astronomical, Prism finished. But more importantly, your family represents hope for the galaxy's future. A future where species don't just coexist, but evolve together. Later that night, in their private quarters, Charlie held Esmeralda as they watched the stars streak by. Her pregnancy had made her even more amorous, their passion deepened by the miracle growing within her. Penny, for your thoughts, she murmured, using the ancient Earth phrase she'd grown fond of. Just thinking about value, he replied, hands caressing her swollen belly. How I went from being worth less than a handbag to helping create something priceless. You were always priceless, she turned in his arms. I was just too blind to see it, too caught up in material worth to recognize real value. The twins chose that moment to make their presence known, their movement causing nearby crystal fixtures to resonate harmoniously. They're showing off again, Charlie chuckled. Like father, like sons, Esmeralda teased, though I hope they inherit your humility rather than my former arrogance. They'll be perfect, he kissed her deeply, because they'll be ours. Dr. Libra's evening update confirmed the twins were developing right on schedule, their unique abilities continuing to manifest in subtle but promising ways. Their enhanced genetics suggested they would be born with natural advantages, stronger bones, more efficient organs, and neural pathways optimized for both quick adaptation and complex reasoning. They're the best of both worlds, the doctor concluded. Without any of the complications we initially feared, your sons will be pioneers of a new kind of evolution. As Charlie lay awake that night, holding his sleeping wife, he marveled at how far they'd come. From a chance encounter marked by prejudice and materialism to a love that transcended species and created new life. Their sons would inherit not just their merged genetics, but a legacy of breaking down barriers and proving that true worth couldn't be measured in credits or commodities. The worth more cruised through the star-studded darkness, carrying its precious cargo toward a future where value was measured not by what you owned, but by what you dared to become. The birth of Nexus and Phoenix Blackwood Voss made galactic headlines, not just because they were the first human-Voss hybrids, but because their arrival coincided with a bold attempt by rival corporations to seize control of the merged technologies their existence had helped create. Charlie paced the crystalline halls of the new Epsilon Medical Center, his tactical instincts on high alert. Security teams from 3 species patrolled the perimeter, while Australian crystal formations provided additional protection through their natural resonance with the twins. "They're perfect, Doctor," Lyla announced, emerging from the delivery room, and already showing remarkable awareness of their surroundings. Inside, Emeralda reclined regally against silk pillows, holding 2 bundles with varying shades of emerald skin and startlingly human eyes. One had Charlie's dark hair, the other Emeralda's jade locks, but both radiated an otherworldly vitality. "My sons," Charlie breathed, taking them carefully. The nearby crystal monitors hummed in response to the baby's presence. "They recognize you," Emeralda smiled tiredly. "Their genetics may be revolutionary, but that's pure human paternal bonding." Augustus burst in, his usual composure shattered by grandfatherly excitement. "The board is in chaos. Reports are coming in from across the galaxy. Developing species are already showing unprecedented compatibility with our merged technologies. It's as if the twins' existence proves what's possible." Speaking of possibilities, First Facet Prism materialized, his crystalline form particularly radiant. "We've detected attempts to breach our combined security networks. Someone is very interested in your children's genetic profiles." Charlie's protective instincts flared. "They're babies, not scientific specimens." "Of course," Prism agreed, "but their natural ability to interface with multiple species technologies makes them living proof that the barriers between races are more permeable than anyone imagined." "They're also my grandsons," Augustus growled. "Anyone trying to exploit them will deal with the full might of the Voss-Australian Alliance." The twins chose that moment to demonstrate their unique capabilities, causing every crystal surface in the room to pulse with soft, synchronized light. Their awareness of the technology around them was instinctive, as natural as breathing. "Extraordinary," Prism chimed, "but not supernatural. Simply the next step in our shared evolution." Months passed, Idore, and the twins grew rapidly, their development closely monitored by an interspecies medical team. Their enhanced physiology allowed them to process information faster than either humans or Voss, while their natural affinity for crystalline technology opened new possibilities for interface design. The Worthmore became their home base, modified to accommodate their unique needs. Charlie and Emeralda discovered that parenthood only deepened their passion for each other, their shared wonder at their sons' achievements, bringing them closer. "Remember our first meeting?" Emeralda asked one night, watching the twins sleep in their crystal-enhanced nursery. "I was such a spoiled brat." "You were magnificent," Charlie corrected, pulling her close. "Just needed the right human to help you reassess your values." She turned in his arms, her amber eyes sparkling with familiar heat. "Speaking of values, that handbag is in a museum now, part of an exhibit on the events that led to human-alien integration. Worth more as a historical artifact than it ever was as a status symbol. Worth exactly what it was meant to be, the catalyst that brought us together." Their kiss was interrupted by a soft chime from the nursery. The twins had awakened, their presence causing the ship's crystal components to resonate in a pattern that somehow conveyed their needs more effectively than crying. "Feeding time," Emeralda laughed. "They're already more efficient communicators than either of our species." As they tended to their sons, reports came in from across the galaxy. The Voss-Australian merger had sparked a renaissance in interspecies cooperation. Humans were being welcomed into advanced scientific programs, their adaptability proving crucial in implementing the new technologies. "We've had another offer," Augustus announced during his daily visit. "The Galactic Council wants to establish an Institute of Interspecies Development with your family as honorary founders." "They want to study the boys," Charlie frowned. "They want to learn from them," Augustus corrected. "Not as test subjects, but as living proof that the future belongs to those who dare to cross boundaries." The twins, now sitting up and engaging actively with their environment, demonstrated their grandfather's point by simultaneously interfacing with nearby crystal formations to create a simple but beautiful light display. "They're already teaching us," Emeralda observed proudly, "about breaking down barriers, about seeing worth beyond surface value." The family story became legend. The arrogant heiress, the humble human pilot, and the handbag that sparked a revolution in interspecies relations. Their sons grew into their roles as bridges between worlds, their unique abilities helping forge connections between previously isolated species. But in private moments, away from the politics and pioneering, they were simply a family. Charlie and Esmeralda's love deepened with each passing day, their passion tempered but never diminished by their responsibilities. "No regrets?" Charlie asked one evening, watching their sons masterfully manipulate crystalline interfaces in ways that amazed even the Australians. "Only that I wasted time judging worth by material standards," Esmeralda replied, snuggling closer. "Everything truly valuable in my life came from taking a chance on a human pilot who was worth more than all the designer handbags in the galaxy. And now our sons are changing the definition of worth for entire civilizations. While we change diapers and steal moments alone between diplomatic functions," she purred, pulling him toward their quarters. Speaking of which, their love had started with an insult about relative worth, evolved through danger and passion, and blossomed into something that transcended species and status. Their sons represented not just the future of human-alien relations, but the triumph of seeing beyond surface value to the priceless potential within. The Worth More cruised through the star-spangled void, carrying its precious cargo, a family that proved love, courage, and the willingness to see beyond appearances were worth more than all the riches in the galaxy.